Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shields, dust serfs, peasants, vassals, Federal Reserve fans. I'm a useful idiot. Today I want to talk about Larry Summers, because Larry Summers is apparently now Barack Obama's leading choice to replace Ben Bernanke. And from the looks of things, if Larry Summers is the best he can come up with, then he's obviously choosing between Mo Curley and Larry Summers. And I particularly chafe at this because I remember when Obama first got elected, and he said that he was going to bring in all these new people for all this new, fresh thought. And then we watched over the first 4 years of his administration when he brought back nothing but old, tired Bill Clinton retreads and reassembled most of the Clinton administration. So that's the kind of new thought he was talking about, I guess. So here we are 5 years later, and here we go again, grabbing into the bag to get some fresh thought for the Federal Reserve. So the first person that comes to mind to Obama is Larry Summers. And, of course, when you look at the pool of people that he was considering, I know Yellen is up for consideration as well, but the fact that he's even thinking about people like Timothy Geithner is truly beyond belief. But Larry Summers, let's go over Larry Summers' pedigree so we can make sure we know why we don't want Larry Summers as the head of the Federal Reserve, someone who could actually be worse than Ben Bernanke. So, first of all, he started out in the Council of Economic Advisors between 1982 and 1983 under the Reagan administration. And by the 90s, he was already involved in the massive deregulation efforts that were going on, perpetrated by the Reagan administration, for one. 1993, he became the chief economist for the World Bank. And then by the 2000s, he was already working for as a financial collaborator and working with the likes of Enron. And he was part of the Clinton administration from 1999 to 2001, working in the Treasury Department. And was completely supportive of the emerging derivatives market. And that gets to the heart of the matter, why Barack Obama wants Larry Summers to be involved in the Federal Reserve now. Because it's all about protecting the derivatives markets for the too big to fail banks. That's what the whole banking system is all about. That's what all the moves and gyrations and maneuvers are about for the banking administration. It's all about maintaining the derivatives business. So to place one of the architects of the deregulation of the derivatives industry as the head of the Federal Reserve would be the final straw. And so we saw that Larry Summers was there with Alan Greenspan and Phil Gramm under the Clinton administration, and the Commodity Futures Modernization Act, which completely deregulated derivatives. And if that wasn't enough, he was also involved in the gutting of the Glass-Steagall Act, along with Phil Gramm and Alan Greenspan as well. And it's ironic that before the crisis happened, Larry Summers used to boast that one of his greatest achievements as Secretary of Treasury was the repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act and the creation of the Commodity Futures Modernization Act. Of course, looking back now, he might have some second thoughts on that. And he's also a protege of Robert Rubin. In fact, Rubin was the Treasury Secretary under Clinton before Larry Summers. And so Rubin is merely a mentor for Larry Summers, and they're both on the same page with derivatives. Robert Rubin being directly overseeing the repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act. And then, of course, between 2001 and 2006, Larry Summers went back to his old alma mater and became president of Harvard University. And he was removed unceremoniously in 2006 over comments he made that were perceived as sexist. And he basically said that as a head of Harvard University, he had noticed a trend where women didn't seem to have the predilection towards math and science and that sort of thing. And of course, the fact is, what he was driving at was actually true, borne out by actual statistics, because there's a record number of women in colleges today, and yet a great portion of them do not gravitate towards the fields of math and science, and neither do males for that matter. So The basic fact was that Larry Summers was right. He just didn't couch it in the right terms or say it in the right place. But to answer to Harvard University, Larry Summers has to answer to Harvard University for something else, and that's the fact that he loaded up their pension program during his tenure, and it's come back to haunt them. They took huge losses on their investments due to the advice of Larry Summers, but that just makes him even more capable and recommended to run the Federal Reserve. And he's also another one of those guys that works both sides of the fence. And he made $2.7 million off of speeches to the very same banks and people in the financial industry that he was responsible for helping to bail out, because he was head of Obama's National Economic Council. So he furthered these bailouts started under the Bush administration, and then, of course, facilitated these bailouts, and then milked those same banks for $2.7 million in speaking fees. Then he also worked with D.E. Shaw and Company, a hedge fund, in 2006, and made well over $5 million there. So once again, here's another guy that's in all the cookie jars. He's a protege of Robert Rubin, a Keynesian and a lackey for the big banks. He worked for the World Bank. He worked for Enron. He worked for a lot of financial institutions and had everything to do with deregulation, particularly in the derivatives market. This is the guy that Obama is thinking about for the Federal Reserve. And let's remember that Larry Summers being the head of Obama's National Economic Council resulted in a number of disasters too, considering every single economic program that Obama came up with during those first 4 years was an unmitigated disaster. And Timothy Geithner is also a Summers protege. So we have a Robert Rubin, Timothy Geithner, Larry Summers. These three are all mentors and disciples and proteges, and they all reflect the same policies. So we can expect the same kind of crappy economic policies that we got under Robert Rubin, Timothy Geithner, should Larry Summers continue back in government work. Although I guess technically working for the Fed is not government work, but he's had a number of other minor scandals that go along with that too. He was instrumental in the U.S. bailouts of Mexico and Russia between 92 and 97, and leading up to the involvement with the Clinton administration. And Summers also set up a project to advise Russia. He set up the Harvard Institute for International Development, and they were supposed to help Russia with the economic problems coming out of its last crash. And there was a huge scandal there, because later it turned out that Summers, as well as a whole bunch of other Harvard insiders, actually invested in the very projects that they were setting up in Russia, once again working both sides of the fence. And under both Reagan and Clinton, Larry Summers also lobbied for cuts in corporate and capital gains taxes, and you can see where that's led us. Now they certainly want even more cuts in those kind of taxes, and Larry Summers gets involved. We will see more business-friendly and elite-friendly, 1% friendly policies from Larry Summers. And his thought in labor economics is that unemployment insurance and welfare creates unemployment, which is an interesting theory. There's certain aspects of that I tend to agree with, but I don't trust him in the hands of Larry Summers, because he is not a clear economic thinker in my mind. So anyway, there's a little bit of a background on Larry Summers, a little refresher course, and I hope I've made it clear that it's just all too predictable, all too pathetic that Obama, first on the list for consideration to replace Ben Bernanke at the Federal Reserve, would be Larry Summers. So let's hope that doesn't happen. And in the meantime, let's keep an eye on the other candidates and see if we could actually pick somebody worse. So there we go. There's another shining example of Obama getting some fresh thought into the government, some fresh thought into the economy of the United States and running the economy of the United States, and some fresh thought into the Federal Reserve. An old, tired, Clinton-era warhorse like Larry Summers. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too. And remember, if I agreed with you, then we both be wrong.